You ever get the feeling an owner's words are meant to land like a scalpel? Jerry Jones did exactly that after the Cowboys' Thanksgiving win. Not a pep talk, not a locker room chest bump, but a precise, unapologetic explanation for one of the biggest roster moves this offseason. He didn't just defend the Micah Parsons trade, he framed it as a strategic choice the franchise made on purpose. And that's the story we need to unpack. Parsons was a unicorn in Dallas. Game-changing speed, relentless motor, terror off the edge. Trading him felt like cutting off a limb. So when Jones said, Micah is very impactful, but we really hadn't won with Micah. We just hadn't won because opponents were able to work around us having Micah. He wasn't being coy. He was owning a belief. Impact alone doesn't equal championships. Jones doubled down on the notion that he wanted to convert one superstar into multiple high-level pieces and future draft capital, and that the cost, even if heavy, could be the right investment for a longer arc. Let's be specific. The Cowboys left Parsons on the table and got Kenny Clark plus 2 future first-rounders and other assets. On paper, that's a heck of a haul. In practice, it's a philosophical pivot. Do you build around one transcendent defender who can individually change games, or do you spread that value across multiple starters to tighten the roster's weakest links? Jones made his call, and his message after the 31-28 win at AT&T was effectively a boardroom memo delivered through the media. We did this intentionally, with an eye towards sustainable roster depth and flexibility. Now let's rewind to the field. Parsons has been enormous for Green Bay. His production didn't vanish overnight. Through Week 13, he's one of the league leaders in sacks with 12.5 and has been wreaking havoc in the Packers' front seven. That's the trade-off Twitter loves, watching the ex-star dominate while his old team recalibrates. But Jones' point was never that Parsons wouldn't thrive. It was that his presence didn't magically erase late-game losses for Dallas. The Cowboys, Jones argued, needed to stop relying on a single elite player to solve systemic issues. Do the early returns support Jones' claim? That's the meat of the debate. Dallas sits above .500. Their offense is humming, top of the league in yards and top 3 in scoring, and their defense has shown flashes of life, especially lately. They've climbed into a 3-game winning streak and look credible again in the NFC conversation. That's the argument for the trade's defenders. The Cowboys' mode of operation looks more balanced, less beholden to one personality. But there's nuance. Micah Parsons didn't just bring sacks, he altered opponent game plans. He demanded attention, threw double teams, and opened lanes for teammates. That kind of gravitational pull influences matchups across the field. Trading that away can expose you, which is why Jones's rhetoric about replacing him with 4 or 5 top players matters so much. If those 4 or 5 players can deliver on parity and depth, the roster becomes more robust in December. If they don't, you've lost an elite difference maker and the wins you expected him to net. There's also a timing angle. Jones made the trade because he saw an opportunity, and maybe because Parsons wanted a new deal, and the cap math didn't line up. Smart front offices consistently ask, what is the marginal value of turning an elite talent into multiple assets? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it's no. The person who pulls the trigger owns the outcome, and Jones is publicly saying he still believes in the move, even as Parsons racks up highlight plays in Green Bay. From a narrative standpoint, this is delicious. It forces a forked conversation. Are you evaluating the trade by micrometrics, sacks, pressures, highlight plays, or by macro results, wins, sustained roster health, draft capital converted into contributors? Both matter. Fans tweet sacks and name-check the ex-player in every highlight, but executives and coaches must construct a 53-man roster that survives injuries, weak link exposures, and playoff attrition. Jones is speaking to the latter audience. Let's pivot for a moment to performance context. The Cowboys' offense is elite. That's undeniable. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, the cupboard is stocked. Dallas's defense, though, was the storyline that tripped them early in the season. Parsons' edge play masked schematic issues that reappeared when teams teased him away. Trading Parsons forced Dallas to solve those schematic problems differently. Tighten gap assignments, rotate rushers, and rely on multiple players to create pressure rather than one superstar. And right now, those adjustments appear to be paying some dividends. they've tightened up over the last few games. But here's the catch. Parity is a slow burn. The 2 first-round picks Jones acquired don't translate into immediate impact unless turned into players who can start and affect games now. Draft picks are potential, not production. The Cowboys are hoping those future assets become foundational pieces, but that is subject to scouting quality and a little bit of luck. For Micah Parsons and the Packers, the individual story is simple: perform, dominate, get paid. For the Cowboys, the story requires patience, discipline, and coaching that converts depth into wins. Jones' public message is an attempt to control the narrative. He's not reacting, he's explaining. That matters to fans and players alike because when an owner speaks with clarity, it gives coaching staff a cover to implement the longer-term vision. So where does this leave us? If the Cowboys keep winning and the new players and draft capital turn into meaningful contributors, Jones's move will be vindicated. If they stumble down the stretch and Green Bay rides Parsons into a deep run, the social media back and forth will get louder and the trade will be a textbook what-if debate for years. For now, the right takeaway is layered. 1, Jones believes the trade was necessary and defensible. He executed a plan. 2, Parsons' personal performance is elite and will continue to generate highlight-driven discussions. 3, the real test for Dallas isn't whether they miss Parsons in a particular game. It's whether the sum of their roster-building choices produces a deeper, more flexible team when it matters most. And here's the final beat. Fans love heroes. Franchises are built on sustainable advantage. Jerry Jones is reminding everyone which side of that fence he prefers to live on. Whether you agree or not, you have to respect the clarity. The rest will play out on the field, chaff in the draft rooms, and in the cold math of wins and losses. In the end, football judges in December, not in sound bites. Jerry Jones sends sharp message to Micah Parsons after Cowboys win. On Friday, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones doubled down on the franchise's rationale for moving on from Micah Parsons and added a fresh perspective to a saga that's followed both teams since the blockbuster trade in August. Jones told 105.3 The Fan that Micah is very impactful, but we really hadn't won with Micah. Not because of Micah, we just hadn't won because the opponent was able to work around us having Micah, and there was no question that if we could replace him with 4 or 5 top players, George Pickens-type players, that was all in the thinking with Micah Parsons. Jones's comments come one day after Thursday's Thanksgiving tilt at AT&T Stadium, in which Dallas held off Kansas City 31-28. The victory marked Dallas's 3rd straight win and moved them to 6-5-1, nudging playoff conversation back into view while arresting a slide that had many questioning the roster after the Parsons trade.